Okay, so I'll just start immediately. So our data here flows from organizations, divisions, subdivisions, latitude, longitude, boys, girls, total children, IDP host returning, total status, and person with disability boys, person with disability girls, and total person with disability. So it flows through all the segregations from total children to status to person with disabilities. So I'm going to break this down. I'm going to close this file. Once I close this file, my Power BI is open. I'll go to blank report, and then I'll go straight up to Excel, and then I want to pick up this report. It's called data impact lesson, and then data for impact lesson, and then I click that. I want to bring it inside my Power BI so that we can see how it looks in our Power Query. So the name of this sheet is data. So there are two sheets, right? The name of this one is data, so I'm going to click that particular sheet. This other sheet, we are not using this sheet, so I'll click just this one that we want to use, and then I go to transform my data. So once I go to transform data, Power BI takes time. It launches the Power Query editor. So in the Power Query editor here, which we have the same in Excel, we just want to see the data how it looks. We want to make sure that it's fine. We all agreed that when it deals with number, especially whole numbers, you need to have 1, 2, 3 here to show that the data type is okay. When it deals with text, you need to have ABC here to show that it's okay. So this is what we are looking at. Now it deals with decimal places. You have 1.2 showing that it's longitude, latitude, and it's dealing with decimal places. But of course, we are not looking at this today. Now, once I look at this data in this flow, I know that it's fine. I'll just go here to home, and then I click to this close and apply, and then I click close and apply. I'm always doing this process again and again because there are still some people who might be finding some a little challenges doing this process. Always bringing your data inside Power BI because this is a regular practice that you always have to do. Okay, now that this data has been loaded, what I'm going to do is still working on it. So Power BI works on it to ensure that the data is properly selected. Now, one thing you must know with Power BI, if you bring in 1,000 columns, Power BI 2,000 columns, Power BI select the first 1,000, does the manipulation as you are working in Power BI, and then when you are done and then you click refresh, it applies it now to the others because all the data cannot come in at the same time because the system is going to have issues. So right here, this is our data here. So we said we want to start with filters. So what are filters? Filters simply means you grind cocoa, you grind corn. Let's say you want to do fufu, right? You grind your corn and you have to sifter the chaffs from the main stuff that you want to use. Most often when you sifter the stuff, the chaffs, you might want to use that chaff in your poultry farm. So each element of that corn is useful per time, is useful per context. Okay? At the moment when you want to do the fufu, chaffs are not important. But once you go to your poultry farm, chaffs are important. So in essence, all the corn is useful. So all this data is useful, but it's not useful in a particular context based on maybe questions that they are asking you from management, asking you from funders. Let's see what this means. If I go into my data point here and let's say I want to check my data divisions, I want to see what is happening in divisions and total children, for instance. Okay, I have selected that and I want to select this cluster column chart. And I want to select this cluster column chart. You see that the moment I select this, it gives us a cluster column chart and it shows us all the divisions that we have and each divisions revealing the number of total children. Perfect. I want us to come down here to this particular visual editor and then we put our data labels on just as we have seen in the other lessons, right? But today is filters. Pay attention. Now, if you look at around here, this particular area here is called the filter pane. This one is called visual and this one is called data. So this area is only meant for filtering. You see that once we create any visual, automatically we have a filter here. Now we have a filter for division. So if I break this down, you see all my divisions. So if management calls you and say, hey, we want to just know what is happening in FACO, do that and send to us. All I'll do is I'll come and click FACO here. And once I click FACO, it only shows me what is happening in FACO. They might say FACO and Kupe Manenguba. I click again. Now it is showing me FACO and Kupe Manenguba. This is important because there are times that you will have a lot of divisions, a lot of communities, okay, littered all here. And if you have a lot of them, you just have to type the name. So if I type Indian, you see that Indian is coming up, and I click my Indian. Indian is also added because somebody is asking what if there are many of them. If there are many of them, you can just go up here and search. It's very, very important. Now we were doing basic filtering. We want to do advanced filtering. So if I click this option, show items when the value is FACO, and then let me see here. Now you can do advanced filtering. I can say I want to see values that contains Indian, for instance. No, sorry. Value that contains Indian, and I click filter. Apply filter, sorry. Value that contains N, for instance, and I apply filter. You see that it goes and take Indian, Manu, Kupe Manenguba. Value that contains S, for instance, and I apply filter. You see that it says contains, okay, value that contains S, and I apply. You see that it doesn't contain, there's no value that contains S. So you have to choose your N, and you come here again, you say value that contains N, and you apply your filters. No, capital N, sorry. It is case sensitive. Okay. So the filters are running in two levels. Show items when the value is FACO and contains N, or and contain Kupe Manenguba. So you can do your filters in different levels. Now you must be logical when you do your filters. Very, very logical. You see that I have done some errors here right now, because logically I cannot say show items when the value is FACO and contains Kupe Manenguba. It's not logical. So if I say or, and then I say contains N, and then I say apply filters, you see that I have said the value should contain FACO, which we have FACO here, or contains Kupe Manenguba, which we have here, or contains N. It goes now and take Manu, which has N, and Dian, which has N. So you can just keep on, you have to just be logical and reasonable as you do your filters. So this is the advanced form of the filters, and it's very, very important. Any question, please? I want us to take note here. Your filters are operating at the text level and also at the number level. What do I mean? If you look at here, you also have filters in terms of numbers. Some of total children, there are also filters here. And the filter here that we see, if we look at our visual here, we have the highest visual, which is under Moyoka, is 95 children. So if we want to filter here, you see that it is going to give us filters that relate to numbers. You'll be hearing things like less than or equals to, greater than or equal to, is not blank, is not blank. In the other filters, when it concerns text here, what you will find here is, if I go to the advanced filter as we did previously, you'll be seeing things like contain, not contain. So it is demanding for letters because you are dealing with text. Okay, because you are dealing with a subdivision or the divisions of other items that contains text. But now we want to look at the figures. We want to see what is less than let's say less than 80, and then we apply the filter and we see. You see here now that these are the visuals that are less than 80. We want to see visuals that are less than 40. We apply our filters. Now we have visuals that are less than 40. So take note of these filters. Now I have 33, I have 30, I have 25, I have 20. Funders might ask you, we want to see, our target was maybe 50, our target was 30. Let's see those that have below 30. And then we click. Now we can easily see that we have gap in Bangem and this Kumba too, because they have 25 and 20. Funders might say, okay, our target was 95. We want to see whether any area has exactly 95. We will now say where it is 95 and we apply. Once we apply, we will see that Moyoka has exactly 95. Funders might say, hey, we want to see, our target was above 30. We want to see what is greater than 30. We apply our filters. Now you see that these are the areas that are greater than 30. So this is how you can do your filters and then share with funders or share with partners. Now we can say or. We said and. Now we want to say or. So we want to look at figures that are either greater than 30 or equal to, let me see, less than or no, or less than. Remember that you have to be logical here, very logical, or less than 40, and we apply our filters. You see that we are saying that it should be greater than 30. It goes up, and then we said or less than 40. So anything that is less than 40 here, we have it here. We have 20. We have, you see, or less than, let's put or less than 95, and we see what happens, and we apply. Or less than 20, and we apply. You see that we want to see things that are less than 20 or greater than 30. So greater than 30 gives an allowance for the data to go up to 95 because it is greater than, right? And then less than 20 gives the data allowance to eliminate anything that is less than. So you just have to be logical, but just understand this and be able to apply it in your data space. Now know that Power BI has different pages. It works like Excel. It also works like Word document, right? So I want to add a page. I'll come here, right down here, and I double click. And I want to name this page, I want to name this page division, right? Because this is the same thing you do when you work with data. I want to add a new page. I just click that small cross and I double click and I want to add this other page. I want to call it subdivision, right? Okay, perfect. Now I have division and I have my subdivision. So I want to come to this division option here, and then I create a visual for division. I'll just come here, click division, and then I click total children. And then here now, I'll still go along and I put my clustered column chart or my clustered bar chart. Okay? And then here, I'll just go to my visual builder here and add my labels on. We had looked at how to really clean your visual, so we are not looking at that today. And then I go now to subdivision. This is another page, right? Here now, I will say subdivision and then total children. And then I'll also click maybe clustered column charts again. So here we are. I'll come again to my format visual option here, and then I'll go and click my data labels on. Perfect. Now see what happens. Remember that now we are moving between two pages. You see? So, I want to come here and I click in this visual. You see that in this particular visual, what is happening here is this. If I go to division here, subdivision here, and I apply my, let me go to division, I could still do it in subdivision. Let me just go to division. If I go here and I apply my filters and I say FACO, coupe, you see? Coupe, perfect. You see that if I come to subdivision here, it remains the same. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Normally, the subdivision under coupe were supposed to be appearing, but nothing has changed. So I want a situation where when I do a filter on this page, it should turn to this other page. So this is what I'm going to do. Very simple. Very, very simple. What I'm going to do is simple. I'll come here, put that down, and then come to where it says filters on all pages. This is it here. Filters on all pages. And I'll take my division, I'll literally take it and I bring it inside here. You see? I have brought it now inside here. I took it from here and I brought it here. So if I say FACO and I say coupe, and then I go back to my subdivision, you see that it has gone to FACO and coupe and took Moyoka, which is under FACO, and then took Tombe, which is under coupe, and then took Bangen, which is under coupe. This is very, very important. So it's cross-filtering. Why is this very important? It is very important because in order to save time, and in situations where you have created a lot of dashboards and you want to be filtering across and just looking at your data and going, sometimes we create dashboards with about 4 pages because the visuals are many. You want to just come here and say, okay, you want to know what is happening in FACO. Once you click your FACO, you move to the next pages, it begins to reflect just FACO as you move on. Okay? Whether it's FACO North, FACO West, FACO East, depending on how you have put this in your data, it begins to give you that insight as you move on. And it allows you to also keep time, save time. I hope this was clearly understood. So to create a slicer is simple. Click out of all your visuals, come to this option that says slicer here. Where is that slicer? This one here, you click. When it comes up here, you will now decide how you want to slice the data. I want to slice it from organization, division, and then subdivision. Okay? So the first slicer will have the organization, which is Hardy Match Local. The second slicer here would have the division, which we all know them. You see how they are appearing, right? So let me show you again how to edit this division. I would like my division to appear like a drop down. Okay, I don't want it to appear like this. So anytime you click on a visual and come to this format visual here, everything you see here now concerns this slicer. I'll come under the slicer setting here and I will decide, it is a vertical list as you can see, right? I will decide to make it a tilt, or I want to make it a drop down. The moment I make it a drop down now, it allows me and gives me space. So if I click here, this small button here, you see that all becomes a drop down. I'll click that off. I want this to also have the same flow, drop down. So I click my drop down. Perfect. This is good because it gives me space to work within my document. To go back to your Power Query, if you have a challenge, maybe your data is not okay here, just come here and click Transform Data. That's all. Now it launches Power Query because all of them are the same tool. They are just interacting. You will now come here and then begin to check your data from here. We had seen how you can add data. We had seen how you can remove data. We had seen how you can do your summations. Let's say you realize that 15 was not supposed to be here. What you do is, you simply come here, you say replace value. Very simple. You said anywhere there is 15 there, they should put 20. They will go and put that 20 there. I don't want to do this operation now. Just click OK, and it's done. Now we have done something here. We are replacing the specific value 15. If I want to replace every value that has 15 here, I will select the whole of that column, and then I said replace value. Now, if I say select 15 and maybe replace with 20, it goes across all the column. If you have 1,000 rows in that column or cells, it will select those cells and replace. But because you want to replace just from a particular cell, you will just select that cell and say replace value. This is very important for you to note. After you have done the adjustment and make sure that your total status is equal to your total children, you simply come back and it says close and apply. And we simply come back here to your dashboard. While you are on your dashboard here, like we saw, your slicers will help you. Because if I click this particular organization, Hardy, no, we started with Hardy. If I click Match Local here, it now select only the divisions that Match Local is working on. FACO, Coupe, and LBLM. And if I select FACO, it gives me only the division, subdivision, that is Moyoka, and I select. So I'm able to specifically say Match Local is in FACO, and in FACO, specifically in Moyoka, this is what they are doing, and this is what they are reaching out. Now, we could extend to communities if we had that in our Excel datasheet. Remember that what Power BI is giving you is what you have fed with. If you fed the system with a good data, it gives you a good result. If you fed the system with a bad data, it gives you a bad result. Now, with a wonderful question that we have heard from one of our colleagues, what is the difference between slicers and filters? As you can see, slicers work in a more flexible manner. You see that I have brought my slicers out here as a visual, right? But I cannot bring my filters here. Filters are already inbuilt, but they almost work the same. But one thing with slicers is that slicers are more flexible. As you can see, I can design my slicer the way I want, how I want it to flow. But I cannot design my filters the way I want it to flow because filters are already programmed in the system. You can see here automatically, I cannot change the filter the way it looks. This is how it is, this is how it is. I can only go from basic to advanced to top 10. Okay? So I cannot go beyond this or above this. So that's the difference, but they almost work the same because we are simply selecting different items. And then another thing with filters is that filters most often, if I come here and I select Hardy and I apply my filter, let me just do filters here for instance, let's see. If I come and select Hardy here, I think I need to have apply filter, sorry. If I come here and I select, and I select Hardy here. No, I want, okay, yes. Anyway, let me select FACO for instance. You see that it is applying only on this visual, and I select Coupe. You see that it is applying only on this visual. But with filters, with slicers, when you select a particular slicer like this, it will apply in all the visuals. That's the difference between slicers and filters. That's another difference, which is even the main difference. So with filters, you can apply it on a particular visual per time. But with slicers, you can apply it across different visuals, which we have seen here. I wanted to practicalize it to show you practically how it works. I don't know if I answered your question. So for emphasis here, around this data point, inside this visual, we had our stack bar chart. We see how it looks. Okay, remember we are dealing now just with two figures, right? Total boys, total girls. So this is how it looks. If we go back to our stack column chart, it shows us this how it looks. 268 girls, 226 boys. And then we go back now to our clustered bar chart. It shows us 226 boys and 268 girls. We go back to our other chart. It shows us sum of girls. It shows us this. Shows us this. Now, there's one thing you are seeing here. You see that there's a difference in the looks of the chart just by looking at the chart. But when we came here, here, you see that the charts were almost equal. But I think this other one is bigger than this blue, is bigger than this other blue. Anyway, so when we go up now to our 100% stack, it shows us now both the percentages and the numbers. Okay? And when we go back right up to the stack column chart, it still shows us the percentages and the numbers. It means that the 100% indication there is showing you that it will be showing you even percentages. Now, there are still some other visuals, like the line, which does not go just with numbers. You need to put another element to show the flow. So we have put the divisions, so it shows us the flow of boys and girls across the different divisions just by line. It shows us how the line increases, how it falls back. Now, I also want to check some other visuals here. I want to go to the area chart. You see that the area chart is also good. It's a combination of the line chart with all the elements around the visuals. So it's painted right. All this area you see here shows that it represents girls. The other area shows that it represents boys. Now, if I go again to the stack area chart, you see it still gives me the visual. So you can still use this. It's very okay. If I go back to the 100% stack, now it is giving you both the percentages and the numbers. If I go also to the line and stack column, you see that it gives you this. So in each division, it gives you boys and girls. Each division, it gives you boys and girls. If I go to the line and stack, it still gives you now, showing you the differences. So these are different visuals that you can use to analyze your data. But amazingly here, we are seeing different views of our data. Now, if you go to Robon chart, that is Robon chart. That's how it looks in your data, okay? So we are looking at the boys and girls per division. So you can choose which one you want to go with. And then we can now go with scatter chart. This scatter chart is so amazing, okay? Scatter chart here mostly go just with two numbers, okay? So now if I take two boys and girls, and then maybe I want to look at in the subdivisions, it begins to show me the spread of the data in terms of, let me see. So let me put this in the legend, subdivision in the legend here, and see what happens. So please learn to try things. Just learn to try things. So you see that it shows me how the divisions or the subdivisions are scattered within that area, okay? And this can also tell me how close they are, how far they are, etc., etc. But we mostly use this in analyzing different things, especially quantitative data. But it's not really applicable here. I'm just showing you how these different charts look, how they look, okay? I just want to show you how they look. I think we'll end that for now. Okay. So remember, we promised to look at hierarchy. And hierarchy here simply means we are moving from a higher rank to a lower rank. In the case of Northwest and Southwest, we have Northwest, we have regions, divisions, and subdivisions, and also communities, okay? So here now, I'm going to go on my organizations. I want to go by organizations, divisions, and subdivisions because these are the hierarchy that I have in my system here. I'll click on where I want to start the hierarchy. Always start the hierarchy with a bigger indicator. For instance, if you want to start the hierarchy in Northwest South, you must start with the region and then start coming down, okay? So it says create hierarchy. Remember that I just came over this organization here, and it says create hierarchy, and I clicked. That's all. Automatically, Power BI is creating my hierarchy. So now I have an hierarchy of organization. Now I want to add this other hierarchy called division. I'll come and click beside here, and then you see now it says add hierarchy, okay? Because it's already indicating that I already created a hierarchy with organization. I'll now click. When I click, it's going to go under there and then add that hierarchy. So if I break this down, I have the hierarchy here of organization and division. Now I want to do the last hierarchy, which is on division, subdivision. I'll click beside subdivision and it says add hierarchy. I'll say yes, I want to add hierarchy. I want to add hierarchy on that organization. I'll click because that is the hierarchy that I created. So anytime I click on any visual, any item here, it will indicate that do you want to add hierarchy on this hierarchy that you have created? I will now say yes. Now that we have created our hierarchy, it's now time to start creating our visuals. So you see the importance of hierarchy. I will now choose my clustered column chart, and then I'll come under my hierarchy and I choose organization, I choose division, I choose subdivision, and then I choose total children. Perfect. I'm not going to go through showing you how to clean this and all that. We already did it in the other lessons. Now, this is something you must take note. Very, very important. You see that in this particular visual, we have 3 visuals in one. That is what hierarchy does. And you see that now we have the drill ups. You have the drill down. So I want to drill down. If I click my drill down, it is not working because I am already around the subdivisions. You can see here, Manu Kumba, because it is at the lower edge of my hierarchy. So I want to drill up. I will now click. Once I click drill up, it moves from subdivision to division, which we are seeing here. If I continue, it moves now from that division to organization. So this makes my work very easy. Very, very easy. Let me come and put my data labels on and I show you how important this is. So you are talking with a funder and the funder say, hey, what's happening with the organizations in terms of total children? Yeah, Hadi is reaching out to 244. Match Local is doing 250. What about the division? You just click down. You just click. You just click down and it says, okay, the divisions manual is this. Meme is that. Njan is this. Fako. Kupe Manengoba. Lebi Alem. Hey, what about the subdivisions? You just click and it gives you. So that is how you walk through your data just by one click. Just by one click. So this is the importance of hierarchy. Just by moving across different data levels and identifying insights that are hidden, because the insights are hidden. Like here now, if I click, it takes me right up. I click again, it takes me right up. And then I can go down and continually go down, and then I give you more insight as I go deeper into that data just by clicking those different data points. Please, is this understood? The next thing we want to look at is analyze. You also find analyze in Excel. These are just some tools. They work like AI. In fact, I consider them as AI. They allow you bring insight from your data without stressing. Now, see what I'm going to do. Remember that we had looked at our drill down and drill up, right? Where we are drilling down and up from organization, division, and subdivision. Now, we want to just look at analyzed. That's what we want to look at now. If I come to this data and I right click, there's a small option called analyze. Now, if I look at here, it says find where this distribution is different. And then I click OK. Once I click OK, it says we couldn't find any significant distribution in the distribution. I know the reason why, because we have too many conditions here. Hierarchy. I want us to do analyze on a plain visual. Now, I'm going to say division against total children. Perfect. And then I open my visuals, and then I take the cluster column chart. Our visual has changed color because we chose a different interface. And then I come to this item that says visual format, and I put that data on. Now I'll right click on this, and I go to analyze, and I click find where the distribution are different. We couldn't find any significant in this distribution. Okay, yeah, I filtered that cause the distribution of some of total children. Okay, to change the most. Okay, no problem, no big deal. Now, the other thing I want to do here is I'll right click again. I'll go to summarize and I click summarize. Now, this is the option. This is the option. So I want to customize. So this is AI. This is the AI version of Power BI. Take note of that. So Copilot, if you are using the paid version, the other aspect will go. Okay? But now what summarize does is it gives you a text about that data. Right? It automatically gives you a text about that. Let's read this text together. I want to make it bigger. So I'm going to select Control A, and then I'm going to make it big. I'll take it to 18. No, I want to take it to 16 rather, or 14. So we have, okay. So it says at 95, Fako had the highest sum of total children and was 35.71% higher than Manenguba, which had lowest sum of total of children at 70. Fako accounted for 19.23% of sum of total children. Now, you can still begin to add your text. Okay? You can still begin to add your text here. You can still continue to add your text inside here. I think I've over-clicked this many times, so it's breaking. Okay? So what I'm just showing you is that you can still explore these other tools. They are very, very important. These other tools are very important, like analyze. So it helps to analyze your data for you and give you a clear explanation. But again, another thing I want you to take note of is that you would need to have a paid version of Power BI to be able to really explore different tools, like the tools I'm showing you. But nevertheless, you can start using Power BI now very well without necessarily finding or looking for a new tool. This text column here, you will always find, right? You always find when you want to write your text inside Power BI. But usually I don't want to use this, because when I use this now, because this version is not a paid version, I'll begin to have some signals. Let me just try.